Is there a copy document?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. Don't find what I just created on
Oops.
desktop library. What's the name of this spec?
Guess
It's
I'm
like
not-
updating, publishing.
I don't know. Did you log this spec?
Very soon. Hang on.
I'm glad I wasn't connected because I just typed hell instead of hello into the chat.
I don't know if that's due to bad scheduling or something this time. Last time we had a lot more people actually in the room.
Well, I'm there because we were wondering as a fluid team how we could help.
Okay. So we should delegate here. Cool. Right. Okay. So basically what you currently have is an EC2 image that we can instantiate. And with that, what you basically get is a server where you can connect using NX and get a desktop. So that's regular Ubuntu desktop that you can use. And that's pretty much what we have for UC. So, well, it works fine for that, but I guess most users didn't really see the point at this point of exactly what they could do there. So, and it was using NX, and that was not packaged in Ubuntu, so it was using a PPA, I believe. And it was, well, yeah, as it's in the cloud, changes were not your changes to your settings files and that wouldn't be saved anywhere, and there was no way that they would be saved to Ubuntu or something like that by default.
All your data wouldn't be saved? Like none of your files or anything?
Right, yeah, because as soon as the instance is actually stopped, you just lose everything. So that, yeah, technically from a technical point of view it was working in this end, but there's quite a lot of stuff we could make to make it better and make it actually a lot more useful to everyone. So first thing I mentioned, I guess in the spec, yeah, there's another project called X2Go, which is about using the same library as NX, so that's like VLC but extremely small, like desktop-like. And they actually implement same thing as NX but completely open source. So we don't have to use the binary client. There is actually a binary free, as in open source client for GTK, Qt, Windows and Mac OS with X2Go. And they also have a more complex and robust server-side part, which is that they actually do user tracking, load balancing, and well, yeah. So if, for example, what I was thinking of as a use case for the desktop in the cloud image would be to like spawn a few instances. You can have a lot more than one user per instance. The part doing the session tracking would remember to which server you're connected, because you can actually suspend the session and resume it from another computer if you wish. And the interesting part would be to have some kind of Ubuntu integration with that. So your settings are saved, and so are your documents and files and contacts and everything. So that way, a regular user could, for example, say, okay, well, today I'll be at the office or traveling or something. I don't want to bring my computer with me, or that's a desktop computer I can't bring with him. He could just spawn an instance and then just use a web browser to get the applet connecting to that and connect from pretty much any kind of public computer I could find. Settings will be saved on Ubuntu One, so even when the instance is stopped, you will still be able to retrieve that from his desktop computer. Also, what would be great, no sure to implement that.
What would be great?
What would be great is to have to use actually Ubuntu One for logging. To have like some kind of image that you can deploy and your actually login password is Ubuntu One. So yeah, but to make it extremely easy for people to just have a desktop in the cloud.
From the QA perspective, it would be a good idea to maybe give access to new image to people so that they don't have to install, to go through the install process. If you just want to test or to make specific QA applications or user interaction without having to go through the install process.
Yes, there is a Ruby document. It's desktop-maverick-cloud-image-testing. Update. Currently we actually have, I don't know if that's daily based or I don't know how frequent they are actually rebuilding the EC2 images. But if that's daily, then we have daily images.
It was being built daily.
Yes,
I don't know, Scott Moser set it up.
Oh, it was definitely built daily or almost daily.
Good. So yeah, then we could also have people use that as desktop testing, not as what we can do ISO testing because that's not an install, but that is desktop testing and regression testing and stuff like that using daily images. So they could test on Ubuntu without having to install and just connect remotely to them.
Right. Well, like if you logged the bug and the developer said, well, can you see if you still have the bug in the latest update, they could just log in, try it from a cloud, try it in the cloud, and say, yeah, I still see it there. So that no, it's fixed in the latest.
I'm guessing also for things like I don't know, desktop experience testing or stuff like that, Canonical could be able, for example, to create a new instance, have it log in with Ubuntu One, and basically everyone who has an Ubuntu One account could be able to log in to that image and see what was installed on that server, and then log out, and that's it. That could be quite
just log in, look around, this is the new stuff that they're working on, cool. And
right. Yeah. Something I guess I mentioned to Mark, but I guess last year at Barcelona UDS was actually that could become an Ubuntu One service. Actually, like have your desktop there, and that's in the cloud just next to everything else. And Ubuntu One is both storage for files and for settings.
Yeah, like all your data gets saved in Ubuntu One. So then, like when you log into a new instance, all your data is just available. It's available on that server.
And if you need more desktop, you just spawn more instance and using the load balancing stuff. Don't have any issue there.
It shouldn't be something really complicated because we can always, for example, it can always be done that you basically map the home directory to what's essentially the Ubuntu One directory, and since what we can do is just respin the image to include these changes, and you're distributing basically an EC2 image that has everything done already.
And that would be, you would be able to offer quite interesting stuff, I guess. Like being on a website, you could choose to log in either on the last LTS or current stable or current daily of the development, and be able to see all of your settings and everything, but different version of the distro.
So you would foresee people using it, like, for instance, like they could go to Rackspace and say I want a desktop account, and then they log in with the Ubuntu One credentials, and kind of everything would just show up there.
Right.
And then,
because I'm guessing that actually quite a lot of people can't have like one. That could be like company policy or whatever, but can't have Ubuntu installed at the office or on their laptop and stuff like that. And with that, they just need the web browser, and that's it.
You see, there are high-level versions of this, which is if you fire up Zen, then product components with a VNC server acting as the video router. And instead of text-based logging, you get a VNC concept. So it's always, chances are, things like the Red Hat Cloud offering, Rackspace Cloud offering might be offering already.
You could go like you could get Ubuntu Lite, boot into that. You're in your web browser, and then you could load a virtual desktop. So in that way, like if you like, so like you could be at home on your desktop and you're just running Ubuntu on the metal, but you use Ubuntu 1 for your key settings and for your data, and then
It's more of a live CD in your web browser, isn't it?
yeah, then you're
You don't need to know where it's hosted.
You're
You
at-
just see it.
well. But I'm just saying, like just for instance, it's like following. Like so, right now I have this Ubuntu installed on my desktop. Blah, blah, blah. Then I take this thing around, like. Conceivably, there may, I could like boot into a web browser and get to, it wouldn't be the same desktop, but it would have all the same data and everything.
Yeah.
And so then I could, or if I'm visiting my folks, fire up my mom's
I
iMac.
think the business case made around that are much more targeted at SMBs or companies than at particular people. So if you are, I don't know, Rackspace or something like that, you are selling desktop as a service, just as Yahoo is doing with their web apps on Google.
But
You need something to access that, right? But
you need a computer anyway, so
yes,
like,
but once you have that online, you don't have to manage anything. All the
all you have to do
applications.
is manage something to run a web browser
Correct.
that can run, it's like some Java applet that has to run.
Yeah, usually it's a Java applet that actually downloads a binary client and configures it and starts it.
And the binary client is just Goo. It's just like proprietary Goo.
No, it's actually, NX was proprietary, that was the issue. X2Go is not, it's open source.
NX itself, the core of it is not proprietary.
Right, yeah.
But the
What
client
was proprietary
Yeah, it is
was
a
the
client.
GUI client that ran all the command line stuff in the right order and started the 7 layers of stuff. The 7 layers of stuff is all completely open.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what we did for let's say, we were using NetX, at the office we were using FreeNX, and these are completely open source server side part.
All FreeNX did was replace the proprietary GUI. Underneath the actual core gutter, you can start all those one at a time, tell it the port number of the previous layer, because one layer is doing compression, one layer is doing emptying the nulls, one layer is, it was very well designed, but it was just the easy to use.
Yeah, I need a shell script that actually does that using only open source binary. It works, but yeah, it doesn't work that well on Windows, which is the issue. But yeah, also something that X2Go brings that wasn't working properly with NX is sound. It is supposed to work properly. Printing as well, and file sharing. So, yeah.
Like on a local network?
Hmm?
How would you print?
Well, so you said you wrap up ports and send them back and forth. You wrap up floppy disk accesses and send them. So you use the local disk drive on here, the local USB port, but it's been wrapped up and sent over to the actual machine you're working on and presented to that.
So that machine thinks it's just plugged in. It's just
Right.
So if you have a PDF from the server, it's sent over this pipe to the local device, or the other way around.
Okay, so it's just like running the VM guest. Right? Like a VM guest, you configure it to look at the USB devices.
Yeah, well, it
It's
doesn't
like-
matter that way on the server side, but yeah, they're doing some.
But it's your guest is on in the server.
If I remember right, what they are doing actually is file sharing is working with SSHFS. So it's actually doing SSH redirection with the client and doing SSHFS that way. And for cups, it's using a remote cup server for printing. So it says, yeah, it basically sets an environment variable so that all softwares using cups are no longer trying to print on the server, but are using whatever IP is in that variable to print.
The LTSP people who used to show up fairly regularly at Ubuntu conferences, they have all this kind of stuff working. So they had a combination of fat thing buttons, so you might have a 486 installed. But some of the stuff was a bit more powerful, you could run some of that stuff locally, and you had all this integrated.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, that's what I do for LTSP. Yeah, I implemented local apps in LTSP. Yeah.
Well, actually, people talked with me about this as an alternative to Ruby, strangely, saying that, well, I can try Ubuntu without having to install anything on my computer, on my Windows, even not .exe or whatever. It's another way of seeing things, but I think it's the desktop testing or regression testing use case.
okay, so what should we do? Should we maybe write down some ideas of things that we could?
So, yeah, I guess I did for this cycle, something we really didn't do that much as first time is actually advertising it, which probably was a good part of the issue. Ideally for Maverick, what I would like to have is have X2Go packaged in Ubuntu, but it's completely open source. They already have Debian packages, but not in the Debian distro, but on a separate repository. Probably work with them and get that in Ubuntu directly.
Are you going to package it?
But they already packaged it.
But I mean, are you going to
So they have
Universe sponsor it?
Yeah, well, yeah. They have currently source packages, so that's already there. Only issue is that their packaging is not that good. Basically, I can't build like these packages even though I have the source package. So there's a bit of work there, but then we should be able to get that in Universe and have our current image use that instead of using text. And then do some more advertisement on that and how it could go.
So just like switch to X2Go.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that's like?
X2Go is really big part. Something that would be nice is being able to offer Ubuntu One as some kind of PAN module, but I have no idea if that's something that's being developed or looked at.
Oh man, I don't know.
I heard some noise about that at some point.
But it seems like these two things like would be feasible. Like if you packaged it, I could easily go to the server team and say, could you please switch to this one?
Yeah, I can change the server seed actually.
You can what?
I can change server seed directly.
You can?
Yeah.
Well, fair enough. So
that's
okay.
That's really not a big issue.
So you could do this yourself.
Yeah, then
Consider
at least get or someone has a question and that's on someone's to-do list currently to at least look at that because it's probably going to be a good replacement for NX. Because FreeNet is not that active. Natex has been dropped to the community by Google, but nobody has actually taken it that I'm aware of. So, and that project actually seems to be quite active currently. And yeah, they also have that scaling thing that's really great.
Sounds to me like this, what you want to do is augment the existing live CDs with the remote login functionality. Because the rest of the process is done, there's no point making you get more images.
Right.
We already have ISOs, they would boot on the virtual machine.
Yeah, well, except that you can't. Yeah, it's basically. I agree with the actual script to generate that image is very similar to the one used for the live CD. And the issue is that if you have a .iso file, you can't really do much to start it like on EC2.
It's just there are 4 discussions today, sessions about generating images. First of all, the cloud people, cloud servers. Secondly, live CDs. Thirdly, ARM images. Fourth, images for desktop cloud. And actually, all of those can be, some of those can be combined. We discussed downstairs that the server image, the cloud image, the EC2 image can be combined with the existing server images. Possibly the live CD could be combined with this. There's a lot of images already.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that what we have on that image isn't going to enter the Ubuntu Live CD because it's listening on the various ports, and that's several daemons running on that. But
the experience people have, the applications that leaves Live CD are going to talk to an X server. Yeah, they don't know that that X server has a TCP port for that rather than a graphics card. All you have to do is notice that you're running on the cloud and fire up the X2Go X server instead of the NVIDIA X server or the Intel X server.
well, I'm guessing the release team is going to 8 years because that's like 10 megs or so to include on the CD, and they are going to like that.
It was also like, we don't want to put things that we don't want to support.
Yeah.
So stuff like that, so like, the cloud image is like, we just kind of,
Although you don't support it.
what?
You don't support it, fair enough.
Just put whatever we want on there and let people rock
Yeah.
it, you know what I mean, like.
Right, sure.
Yeah. But someday, I don't think change
I mean,
quickly, you know what I mean?
If it's to
Like,
go works the way I want it to work, I'd clearly include it on the Ubuntu DVD because I can include it there, and that's
Yeah.
me was supporting
Well,
it
it's
myself.
Ubuntu and it's a DVD.
Right,
So-
yeah. Oh yeah, I have like a gig and a half free space. So that's,
We may be having this conversation for 11:10
yeah.
instead of 10:10 when it's like, yeah, like people are running desktops from the cloud a lot, and we need, you know what I mean? Like at some point, I assume they had a conversation, like, should we have the
I mean, last
CD
time
and the
actually-
CD be the same CD? Because I remember it used to be in the distro, you download the live CD or the installer CD.
And last time I actually dropped 500k from the alternate CD. Steve was, oh yeah, thanks so much for doing that. So I'm guessing adding 10 megs is not going to be that much.
So why the hell is it 10 megs? Anyway.
Yeah, well, yeah.
That's a good question.
Right, yeah.
Well, if you like try to fix the package, then you might see one.
Yeah, alright. Kind of depending on SSH and a few other stuff. Right. So yes, yeah, biggest thing to do for my victory to ensure it works properly in the daily bin, and then advertise it as like a way of checking Ubuntu's development without actually installing it.
But then when you like
putting
accounts
everything.
and stuff. So one of the things that happened last time was like, they're like, okay, Rick, we have to build, like, here's the instructions for using it. Like, set up an Amazon.web account, fire up terminal, log in this way, do this, do the other thing. I was like, you know, the people I envisioned using this to make their lives easier are not going to think this is easy.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of one of the reasons why I lost interest in it. So is there anything we can do to wrap, like to make it so you can click a button instead of?
I'm not sure we can automate much of the EC2 part because that's Amazon.
Okay, so sod running it remotely, okay. People have KVM generally on their laptops built in. Can we make it run applications click?
Well, we can easily make.
Run it locally for the moment, just concentrate on getting that image running locally. One click, click, click.
Yeah, we can make something that goes and does that. And that's.
You still have to provision the machine.
Yeah, well, no, in this case, what they will do is they actually boot the cloud image locally.
That forgets all of the, that avoids all of the authentication issues, all of the, do I have an Amazon account, like creating it.
Right, but that's, I guess it's different use of it then.
And that gets desktop testing, regression testing, and user experience testing.
Yeah, yes. Well, these users would already just download the desktop image and start it.
Like run live.
Yeah. On KVM. I mean, if they are
Well,
starting
then
KVM,
they
they won't use NX because there's no point in using NX when you are running KVM locally.
But you have to run the installer and everything. This would just load up the image from it and just like, just run the image.
Yeah, that's, well, probably starting a bit faster. I'm not sure it's that big of a difference actually.
This is the halfway house to getting it working.
I don't know.
The thing is, if you this instruction list that requires getting an AWS account and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Couldn't you just write a Python program that just like,
Starts an image and you see it.
yeah, just like,
Yeah.
It's already done. It's
Well,
already
starting the images too is easy. The issue is that we are requiring the user to actually create an Amazon account.
Well, if you're running something in the cloud, you have to
Actually,
choose.
use this being an Ubuntu One service that I pay $5 a month for having a remote desktop.
Yeah, in this case,
Five,
that
six
would be
gigabytes.
currently called starting new instances. This won't be an issue.
Stop.
yeah, that would be like eventually. But like right now, they only public file that would support it. Well, no, I guess Rackspace does. The only one I know about, that I know anything about is,
You wouldn't know what cloud it's running on.
right, but right now,
It's a
like,
service I'm buying from Ubuntu One.
Yeah, because then that would be a company having their actual
It's a
system account and
company.
creating them. Yeah, so that would be easy for the user, but
But for
we need
now-
someone to actually do it.
but for now,
As a company doing it.
like, since none of that's happening, like for now, it seems like maybe instead of like the incredibly complicated instructions Scott Moser sent me, for like, do this command, this command, this command, potentially we would just use Open and, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like once you create a Ubuntu One account, put your name and credentials in here, and then we just like wrap up the AWS.
the issue there is, but we'll still have to create an Amazon account because
Right,
but whatever, it's not an Amazon account. So.
so you create an Amazon account,
Yeah.
and then we
Well,
get your
I-
username and password, and then we just, we just write a program that gets your username and password, and then instantiates it and everything. Because it wasn't just creating the account, like actually create the account on the web, and that's pretty easy. Then you crack open terminal and like,
Yeah, that part.
you do all these crazy commands, which I remember I've done them before, I've run servers that way, and it was like, if you have it written down, it's like not impossible, but it just seems
You
like,
can also start the images for, straight from the Amazon website. Basically launch an instance and select the right one in the list.
You
that
can?
have. Provided that what we do is wrap up everything in an EC2 image
Yeah, the
that's
MI is
published
published,
inside the
Yeah,
UDS.
it was, yeah. Yeah, the MI was actually
It's basically
published.
2 or 3 clicks and then you wait for the IP address to activate.
Where have you downloaded this image from? It's a button just to the right
It's stored,
side
it's stored
that says
on
test.
um,
It just does it. You can download it, you can run it there and then.
you mean like on the website?
On the website.
Download,
it?
try.
Download or try.
Yeah, and just click, and it just,
Browser opens some horrible job of VNC time.
yeah, that would be really hot. So I think we can make progress towards it in this, in Maverick. And it sounds like if you just do 2 things, well, really one thing, if you do what's necessary to get X to go in there, it sounds like that would help a lot.
Yep.
And then also, then we'd all need to ensure that it works in the daily build. You mean just test it and make sure that we did it right. Interesting. Okay. So, is the LTSP project at all like interested in this? Or is this just like off?
Well, LTSP would be interested in, as a client actually, to connect to that kind of image. Because what we can see is like having a very small box where you just have LTSP installed, but no applications or no complete Ubuntu installed there. That's just used as boot server for an office or something like that. and they would compute us out of that. They just get to a login prompt, and when they log in, they are collecting OLX to go to some server in a data center somewhere.
It's basically ideal for like, not fallback, but in the event of an emergency, something goes horribly wrong with your company, you just pay and get something very small with dumb terminals to connect over to.
You have two basic use cases: disaster recovery or extremely not critical data, but assuming that the cloud would be a private one. You could run this kind of setup to not have any data on any desktop in your office at all. So that if you get stored.
I'm already running a Windows client or something, so we can just try it. Like, actually, I guess it would just be from the web on Windows anyway. So
That's basically it. Well, yeah, that's just an Explorer or a VNC client or the browser. Sorry, the browser. Yeah, the browser.
I don't know. How would you, how would you get a Ubuntu instance running on Windows? Is there a Windows X2Go client?
Yeah, it is.
Is there a web client?
There are all kind of web clients now. They have clients for all platforms, and they're just doing the same Java stuff that the next does. That's just another client configuring it. So it's I'm not sure about the 88 or like June something, so it's going to be like very soon.
On the development list, we were talking about that in February and March.
So if you need anything else, let me know. This is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, thanks. So if you need anything from the server team, like, do you want to talk to Scott Moser and tell him that you're going to sort of take it over?
Pretty poke him, yeah, because he actually did the script to build that image, and I'm perfectly fine if he wants to continue maintaining it.
Well, okay, understood. But you just want to interface with them?
Yeah, I just want to switch NX to X2Go and do most of
After you package it, it would probably be easier to do.
Yeah, so that's.
I mean, after you repackage